Okie dokie.
Hi everybody, Jeannie and James, Duffels and
Duffels and Dogs.
And we got the dogs here. You can probably see
Yes, so you're going to hear some of our furry friends in the background, neighbors as well as our own.
And wind.
But since this is a video about dogs,
yes,
it's very apropos.
Yes, it
right.
is.
So real quick, this is let's set this up. So probably the top two questions that we get asked about coming to Costa Rica is, can we bring our dogs? I've got to bring my dogs. How are your dogs doing down there? It's probably even before they ask us how we're doing down here. So
yeah.
How are the dogs doing?
Yeah, I mean, whether it's people on the beach that are just walking by or stopping us, or restaurants, or online, social media, YouTube, Twitter, you name it, Facebook, Instagram, it kind of comes up. So
we decided to make a video about our experience with the dogs, and I've really broken this down into, since so many people are asking these questions, I've broken it down into three areas. Really, is preparation, the trip itself, and arrival, and what happens when you get here. And it may seem like we're taking it out of order a little bit, but we're going to start with arrival. Okay, we'll start with arrival, and then the other two, preparation and the trip itself, will be the subject matter of another video. The other stuff is more logistic. The reason that we're starting with arrival is the pragmatic stuff, and what people really care about is, once I get my dog here, and how are they going to react to being in the tropics and whatnot. So that's why we're starting with arrival.
And we've been here now long enough, so 3 months is a long enough period of time to actually have something to say. So we thought this would be a good time, and it seems to be what people want to know, so let's do it.
So let's go.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's talk about it.
Right.
Hey, and the pooches are staring at us right now. Okay, so when it came to arrival, so we got here. I broke arrival down into three areas: the acclimation, vet care, right, and ongoing safety practices. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yes, and this has been top of mind for us the whole time. Even the dogs have kind of been the thing.
Absolutely, it's been their Duffels and Dogs, right? They're half of this whole equation.
We already unpacked the Duffels, so we're done with that.
All we have is the dogs now. So let's talk about acclimation. So, and some of this might seem obvious, right? But it's hot here. This is the tropics. We're 10 degrees off the equator.
Hot, like 88, 89.
To the mid-90s, depending on the time of year, every single day. And the sun here is, it's not just the heat, it's the intensity of the sun at this latitude. So it can get pretty damn intense, that like 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. time frame, right?
Yeah, crispy critter hot. Crispy critter hot.
So we want to talk about, the heat. Depending on the breed of your dog, you have to take that into consideration as well. But in general, they're probably not used to that kind of heat, unless you're from, I don't know, Arizona. Well, even so, it's totally different down here.
Yeah.
So the heat portion of it is important to get them to acclimate to the heat. So, do not. One of the practices that we did, of course, was we don't take them out for walks in the middle of the day, right? So early morning is beautiful. Runs on the beach, walking along the beach, walking early in that, like 6:30, 7 a.m. time frame, perfect.
As long as we figure as long as we have them back by 9, which works for us too, because we're still working down here online. So that works fine. So as long as we have them back by 9, it's fine.
Absolutely. And then of course in the evenings, which are
anytime after 4:30, when they eat at 4, we take them out again, and it's fine. So it's really that middle of the day heat.
Yes.
But we don't go out and eat either. So we don't sunbathe, we don't bake at 1 in the afternoon. And that's when we're doing our work anyway. So they've gotten their run on the beach for 2 miles. They're happy as they could be. And so somewhere between 9, 10, and 3 or 4, we are in the house, we're inside doing our work, and they're lounging and sleeping, which is what dogs do anyway.
Again, this is just shade. It can be breezy here and shady, and that is fine.
Yeah,
so it doesn't mean they can't be outside during those times. Our dogs are outside, but if they're in the if you're in the shade, it's fine.
It's fine.
You just want to avoid that direct heat during the middle of the day.
And I just want to add though too that we see all kinds of dogs down here. So there are local dogs like Tico dogs. They were born into this. Is what they do. They walk around at all hours of the day. They don't care. And then people down here, I mean, we've seen every kind of doodle. We see German Shepherds. We see everything. So people bring their dogs.
Small dogs, medium dogs, big
huge
dogs.
They're all here. Everybody's bringing their dogs. So just no stresses. Everybody brings them. Just got to know practice.
Absolutely. So that's the heat. Gradually get them used to the heat. Make sure that they get plenty of water, shade. Perfect.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm doing my thing. I just have to make sure you know that our dogs are doing great here.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yes, they are doing absolutely wonderful. We do keep them. They are poodles, standard poodles, so we keep them, as you've seen pictures of them, so we do keep them trimmed, but they're doing awesome. So let's talk about the tropics. Okay, the heat is one factor, but the tropics bring a whole different dimension to pet care, and it's important. And you know, there's the good, there's the bad, there's the ugly. But the tropics, the flora and fauna down here are totally different than anything that from anywhere, unless you're coming from a tropical country, is different than everything else. And what we mean by that is
Flora and fauna, it's plastic.
Okay. Stop eating plastic.
Okay.
The flora and fauna down here is way different. And this goes for humans too. Once you get down here, it's like there's an acclimation period with the food, the water, everything else. You want to take care of your gut. Same with animals, right? There is different microbial activity down here than there is from where you're from. So you just want to ease them into it. Keep an eye on that. Don't do anything weird with their eatings. If you can get the same food that you've been feeding them, please do that. Just keep an eye on them that they're not, eating and getting things off the beach.
Or plastic.
Or plastic.
From the ground.
But again, the tropics have its own ecosystem here, and the dogs need to adjust to that just like humans do.
And very doable.
And absolutely. And again, I do want to emphasize that there are things down here that you're going to find that you're not going to find back home, right? So there are things that are poisonous here, or things that can injure your dog, make them sick, just like they can human beings. So again, we're going to go over some practices about that. But in general, the tropics can be a great place for your dog, but there are some things that you need to watch out for in terms of flora, fauna, and taking care of them in adjusting them to the heat. Which brings us to vet care.
Yes, vet care.
Very, very, very important. This is the top thing. The first thing you do when you get here is find a good vet that you like. We interview a couple, go see them. You just take your dogs in for a check, even if they're not due for one, just to meet the vet, get to know the vet. One of the first things that we did when we got here. So that will lessen your anxiety about your pet, tenfold.
Yeah, and there's great vets here. And that's not a problem.
Find a vet you trust, and I'm going to hand it over to you with our story. So we want to tell you what our experience has been with our vet.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, oh my God.
Is that a good oh my God?
No, it's a good oh my God.
Okay,
Right,
good.
right.
Sure.
Way different than it was in the States.
So we met our vet. His name, we'll put his name at the bottom. I call him Dr. Aaron, but we'll put his information at the bottom of the screen for you. It was time, we heard about him. He was recommended to us by people. I came down with my sheet of paper from our vet with all the vaccine records, with everything, and I had it all timed because down here, what you can't count on is an email showing up at any time going, your dog is now due for, Cousteau's overdue for, whatever those things are we're all used to. So I brought it down ready to be proactive to make sure. So we actually took the dogs to Dr. Aaron, a couple weeks ago. Ferdinand had some stomach issues, which he had at home too from time to time. Dogs get whatever they get. And from what I could tell from my records, he was also due for some inoculations or some shots or whatever. So we took him to Dr. Aaron. Dr. Aaron is actually a big animal vet. He does a lot with cows and bulls and insemination. Like, there's a lot of that around here. So that's his primary, and he also, however, works with house animals. So we went there, and I'll try and see if I can get some pictures of it. But it's nothing like you've seen. But it's just a small little place. It's not fancy. It doesn't have a fancy room. All the dog food is everywhere. It's just lovely. So we took him in, and the first thing was he weighed them. And I just have to say, he weighed them by picking them up, standing on a scale, looking at the number, putting them down, standing back on the scale, and doing subtraction. That's how he weighed the animals. It was perfect. Who cares how you do it? He did it. He talked to us. He was very good. His English is pretty good, not perfect, but it was pretty good. And what he really said was we were going to take a reset.
Yeah,
so it's
this is important,
yeah.
right? You're in the tropics again. I just want to reemphasize that.
We never thought of that. Like, we just thought it was going to be the same.
Well, he explained it very well. I mean,
Yeah.
At the bottom line is this is a different environment than your dogs have been used to. So, not that you throw out everything that you did up there, but you're going to do things differently here.
Right.
And there are things that are more important here that were, kind of loosey-goosey in the States, not so here. And there's things that that we never did there that you're going to do here. So it's a reset.
Yeah. So he just said, let's start over. Like, right here, right now. I gotcha. They're in great shape. They're doing well. But we're going to reset. So we did. And he looked at Ferd. Everything looks great. Eyes, everything was terrific, but he could tell his stomach was upset. So he sent us home with some stuff and then said, give me a call later today if for any reason they're not okay. So we walked out of there with some NexGard, a visit, some medication, whatever, and it was, I think, $79. It was $79. Whatever, the Flonase.
And buying some things.
Right. Oh yeah, we bought a big bag
the
of
vet
food.
visit itself was like, I don't know, $25.
Yeah, it was like. So anyway, so it was great. It was inexpensive. We didn't walk out of there with our usual joke, which is, can you get out of the vet under $300? So if James and I would want to go to the vet at home, we would call each other from the parking lot and have fun going, okay, we got out of there, and it was only, $390. Anyway, it was like unbelievable. The other thing about Dr. Aaron that we really liked was he's very holistic. He really believes in the body taking care of itself if it can, rather than just putting medicine in. So we went home. He said, call us if they're not better. So when we got back, Ferd just wasn't better. Like, he, diarrhea, dogs. So we WhatsApped him. So everybody here works on WhatsApp. He's on the other end. We can contact him. And he said, I will come by your house tonight, because he does house calls. So he came by. He didn't want to give them his inoculation until he knew more what was going on with the stomach. So he came back that night on our front steps, gave him his inoculations, handed us some medication out of the back of his car, had it all ready, went through the whole thing with us, and got back in his car and drove away. And that came to 26,000 Polonais, which is about $40 or something?
Less than $40.
Less than $40.
$38 or something like
Yeah,
that. Now, that was for the inoculations and the additional medical.
And the visit.
The visit, he didn't charge us any more
true,
for
right.
he just charged us the $20 or whatever it was for the visit in the morning, but didn't charge us anything else for coming to our house in the evening. And he was there for a good 30 minutes, checking our dogs out, giving them inoculations, talking to us, relieving our anxiety about, whatever concerns we had. It was a great experience.
It was a great experience. It was a relatively very inexpensive experience as well. So we found a vet we really like. We do happen to know 3 or 4 others in the area. Everybody speaks highly of all of them. So it was a really great experience, and we will see him. Now, what I will say, coming up now is I'm going to WhatsApp him. It's on my to-do list to check in with him again. Because what I'm not confident at is because I'm so used to our vet being proactive, I'm not sure what the next step is. Like, when do we see you next and how do we know? And I have no doubt that if I ask Dr. Aaron these questions, he will answer the question and I'll be fine. But that's our next step, is like, how do we know when to come to you again? When's the next shot due? When's the next heart guard due? You know, like that. So it's just a little bit more figuring because, you know, we're just trying to say it, but there's just so much that comes to us in the United States that relieves us of having to think. That here I'm finding a part of my brain has to think in a new way, or it's being exercised in a way that didn't have to be exercised in the United States. But it was a great experience. I recommend it. You do not need to worry about your animals.
Vets down here are awesome. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Yes.
And our experience has been, you know, from my point of view, superior in a patient care mode and taking care of us and our dogs, as opposed to some machinery, get them in, get them out, charge you $500. So that's all I'm going to say about that.
Okay, very good.
Jesus!
No, now, Pura Vida. Pura Vida.
I was getting PTSD thinking about back home with it. So ongoing safety practices, that's
Yes,
the
number
last
3.
piece of it. So when you're here, it's just, so there's a couple areas. Yard safety. Now, whether you're renting or whether you're end up buying a place here or anywhere that you go into a new place, yard safety, right? So make sure that just like you would back home, that your yard is fenced in. There's no place for the dogs to, get out. It might be a little bit more important here, depending on where you live, unless you're in an apartment in the city. But if you're out in the some of the smaller communities, the flora and fauna is all around you. You don't want your dogs to be running into the jungle unattended.
And cane toads and scorpions.
Yes, well, they're not. Yeah, there's all kinds of critters here.
They're just part of life.
So yard safety is important. Part of yard safety too is also making sure that it's that it's cleaned up, that there's not a lot of standing brush, just like you would at home, right? Just for other critters to hide and done. So make sure your yard's fenced in, make sure it's kind of clean. Do a perimeter check every now and then. Whether that's every couple of days. I walk around the yard. We just finished putting our fence around our area, but I walk around and look just to make sure that there's nothing in there that would be harmful to them. So
James is our perimeter checker.
I perimeter
don't
check it, right?
perimeter.
Before I just let them run around sometimes. Keep up on your training, right? And I mean that, right? So that stuff like recall, drop it, leave it. I'm not talking about, sit, shake. I'm talking about the commands that will keep your dogs safe, right? There are a lot of off-leash dogs here. That are local, a lot, and while the vast majority of them are of no issue, we let our dogs run free on the beach, only on the beach when we're there. But there are a lot of dogs off leash and whatnot, so you want to be careful with that. You want to be able to have good recall, that they don't go just off chasing another dog or an animal. So recall. There are things here that you may not want them to eat. Cane toads for sure. Those are very dangerous to dogs. They're scorpions, which are not deadly in any means, but they can be
not as scary as you think.
But there are things like that, or dead animals on the beach, dead fish. We had, bird. You don't want them just grabbing those stuff and eating it, so you want to be able to tell them, hey, leave it, drop it, whatever, just to keep them safe. So your basic training commands, keep those up. Right?
Yeah.
And
by the way, I just want to say really clearly that the whole off-leash dog thing, it's just a way of life here. It is just a way of life. People have their dogs here, I think, for different reasons. A lot of local people, their dogs are part of their security. And we understand that completely. So we have empathy and we totally get it. I will say, however, that we had issues with dogs in the United States as well, off-leash in neighborhoods.
Right.
You can't do next door without finding out about dogs off-leash. And then, of course, James last year, he and Ferdinand were bit buy an off-leash pit bull. So it's not like, oh my gosh, Costa Rica is so scary because they have off-leash dogs. I was scared at home too when I would walk the dogs through the neighborhood about off-leash dogs. So I just want to make sure we don't make that too much of an emphasis.
Right. It's not like it's uncommon. It's like, oh, it's a bigger problem here than it was back home. So just common sense.
Just that you don't complain down here because it's a way of life. So the way you complain at home, going put your dogs on the leash because it's a law. People don't complain down here because it's just the way it is.
There you go.
There you go.
Okay.
Is that
So
it?
I think that's it. For today, for the arrival piece of it, and we will do another video to talk about the preparation and the actual travel stuff and all the logistical stuff that we did, and we recommend that you make sure you do, so you have a good checklist if you want to do that. And in the meantime, if there's any questions or something we missed that you have a question about, please in the comments let us know. We'd be happy to talk to you about bringing your furry friends. Oh, well, I was getting there.
Oh.
Jeez.
Sorry.
Oh, and for those of you who are following us, thank you. Don't forget to hit the bell icon. Even if you're a subscriber, hit the bell icon so you get notified when there's another video uploaded. And for those of you who this may be your first video, please subscribe. Hit the subscribe button at the down below. I don't know exactly where it's going to be, but I'll say right there. And again, and to remind you, hit the bell icon so you're notified when we upload new material, so you don't miss anything.
Anything else?
That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
That's good. All right, folks.
Hope this was helpful. Hope this gave you some things to think about. If there's anything we left out, please don't hesitate to let us know. And we're honored that you're here with us, and we just want to be of service to you. So we hope you got a ton of value from this.
Yep.
And we will talk to you again soon.
Yep. So
ready?
I'm ready. Ready?
Pura vida.
Pura vida.
Bye, everybody.
Gotta do that pause at the end. All right. So I have edit.